So in this lesson, I'm going to talk about this chromatic approach that's used a lot in funk. It starts on the 6th degree of the scale and goes chromatically up to the tonic of the chord you're playing in. So I was just playing some of that right there. It's just something that's very, very common, and it's a good thing to understand how to use it. The idea is that you need to land on the downbeat on the chord, or the chord that you're playing right there. So when you start on that 6th degree, it's you've got 3 pickup notes: 1, 2, 3, boom, and then you land on the downbeat on that chord. So in this case, I'm playing in C, but I'm starting on A, playing a B flat, a B natural, and then a C, like that. And the rhythms, I mean, you can use octaves like that, or just simply, it's just a very common approach, 4 chromatic notes in a row. So if I'm playing a progression that goes from C to F, I can use that same approach on both chords. C, F, C, F, F, C. It's just a very, very common thing. You've heard it a million times, but you can apply it now as an improvisational tool. So let's say I'm playing an A, and we're playing something funky. So I can just use that. It leads you to the downbeat quite well. So it's good to sort of build tension and bring you back to the downbeat of the groove. Like that. And if you recognize that bass line, that's Chameleon by Herbie Hancock. It's in a different key, but... And it's all based around that 4-note chromatic approach. Now, if we look at it from a harmonic perspective, we have the 6th degree of the scale, the flat 7th degree of the scale, the natural 7th degree of the scale, and the tonic. The 6th degree, the natural 6th degree, is found probably more often than the flat 6th degree. I mean, or certainly in funk music, or anything that's more danceable, you're less likely to see the really minor 6th be in that type of music. So from a sound perspective, it applies to a lot of different scales. It can apply to the Dorian scale. It can apply to a Mixolydian scale. It can even kind of apply to a major scale because it's just a chromatic approach. It's not that far out of the key to just have one extra note, especially when it's chromatically leading to the tonic of the chord. So it works for Dorian, works for Mixolydian. Those are very common scales and chords. They're used a lot. So no matter if you're playing a major chord or if you're playing a minor chord, it still works because of that Dorian scale for minor and the Mixolydian for major. And the natural 7th degree, while not part of either of those scales, because it's only a half step away from the tonic note, it always has a natural tendency to lead towards the tonic note. So having that chromatic note in there doesn't stray away from the harmony if you're playing a Dorian scale or if you're playing a Mixolydian scale. It's just a chromatic approach. So that's why this 4-note approach is very common in a lot of different styles of music, and you've heard it a lot of times. I mean, even disco beat it's to play the same thing over and over again. But it's very useful, and you can always use it whenever you're trying to improvise a new approach to a chord. Try that approach. So, but that hopefully gives you some understanding harmonically what's going on and why it might work, even with a minor chord or a major chord. Of course, there will be situations where it's not appropriate, because it does yield sort of a funky sound. So if you're playing a very pretty song that's very majory sounding, maybe it's not the right time to use this approach. But it's very common. Now you understand it a little bit more, and you can play it, in all different kinds of keys. It's really simple to put together. So the 4-note chromatic approach.